In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Cricut's Infusible Ink to make a t-shirt. Alright, so I'm here in Design Space. I just found this project actually searching through Infusible Ink projects. If you want to do that, you can just click on projects over here, and then on the categories, you scroll down to Infusible Ink. And then honestly, it's just right here. It was one of the first ones. So here's my t-shirt. I'm trying to actually figure out how big I want to make the design. You can grab a measuring tape or a tape measure if you want, but I'm actually just going to take my cutting mat so that I can get an idea. And it's easy because it's going to be a square, so I can just see here, I think 6 by 6 is perfect. So I just wanted to show you that to give you guys an idea. People always ask, how do you know how big or how small to make your designs? I just measure and do whatever I think is best. I'm just going to resize this to what I need. I wanted it to be about 6 inches wide, so I'm just gonna change that up here under size, type in 6, and then we're good to go. So then we'll click Make It. And then since we're working with Infusible Ink, we have to remember to mirror the image before we cut it. So on the left-hand side here, I'm gonna click on Mirror, and then we're good to go. I'll hit Continue, and then it's gonna connect to my maker. All right, and now we'll search for Infusible Ink transfer sheet. You can just click Browse All Materials and type in Infusible Ink and click on it and hit done. So we're going to be working with Infusible Ink today, and I've got an Infusible Ink Youth t-shirt that I'll be using, and I'm using this mermaid rainbow pattern that I'm super excited about in these transfer sheets. Alright, so I'm going to get the transfer sheet applied on a standard grip cutting mat, and I'm going to do my best to not touch this as much as possible. Obviously we have to, but to apply it onto the mat, I'm going to use a brayer tool. I like that you can just roll, helps it to stick really well. So we'll get this loaded in, and then we'll get cutting. To remove the transfer sheet from the mat, I like to flip the mat over and let the mat bend back while I keep the material straight. And now I'm going to actually cut this to size. I could have done this before, probably would have been the smarter option, but here we are. So I'm just gonna cut off the excess transfer sheet that I don't need and save it for another project. I like to use this paper trimmer from Cricut because it keeps everything straight. Now we're going to weed Infusible Ink. Cricut recommends weeding this with your hand. If you've never worked with this before, it reminds me of like a really thick paper, and so you're just gonna kind of peel it up with your fingers and it'll just come right off. I like to go nice and slow when I'm doing this. So you can kind of roll it up and see how it's like popping up a little bit there. So you can kind of just roll it. Then there's our design. Now we're gonna get our t-shirt ready for the heat transfer process. So I've got an EASYPRESS mat that I've put down on my table, and then I'm gonna put the t-shirt on top of the mat. Then I have a piece of cardstock, and I'm gonna stick this inside of the t-shirt. This is just in case any bleed through happens on the back side of the shirt. It'll go onto the cardstock and not onto the back of the t-shirt. Now I'm going to use a lint roller and roll the t-shirt. This is to get rid of any dust or debris, anything that could be sitting in the shirt. We want to make sure that it gets out. Otherwise, it can interfere with the heat transfer process. So to find all the instructions for the Infusible Ink heat transfer process, I always go to Cricut's heat guide online, and I will link that below for you. Whether you're doing Infusible Ink or iron-on, I always follow those instructions. So everything that I'm telling you today is from the website. So the instructions say to put the EasyPress at 385 for 40 seconds. So we'll just let that get heated up. So now that the EasyPress is preheated, the first thing we're going to do is preheat the t-shirt. So we've got the mat laying down first, the t-shirt on the mat, and the cardstock inside of the mat. Then we're going to take butcher paper, it'll come in the boxes, and we're going to preheat the shirt just for 15 seconds. Grab your EasyPress, and we'll go for 15 seconds. Now you can remove the butcher paper, and then we're going to apply the Infusible Ink transfer sheet. I'm just gonna go like a couple fingers down, and we'll do our best to line it up. You can use a tape measure to help you line if you want. I'm just gonna kind of eyeball it here. And then we'll push down. And this carrier sheet, the transparent sheet, is pretty sticky, but I found the best success when I actually take some heat resistant transfer tape, which this is from Cricut, and apply it on as well. The last thing you want in this process is the transfer sheet to move. So I found that by putting the heat resistant tape on the sides, it will help just to keep it in place. All right, so now we're going to apply the EasyPress. I'm gonna take the butcher paper again and place it back over, and then we'll apply the EasyPress. When you're doing this, it's so important to not move the EasyPress. So I'm just going to carefully place it down and just set it down and not move it. It's also important to make sure you're not on any of the seams of the t-shirt, so double check that before you press. And I'm applying a decent amount of pressure. All right, so now that it's finished, I'm just gonna lift up and we'll let this cool down just for a little bit before we remove the transfer sheet. If you want, you can grab some tweezers and remove it right away. You just want to make sure that you're being careful because it's extremely hot. I just let it cool for a couple minutes and now I'm gonna try to remove it. And there it is. I'm gonna remove the cardstock and then I wanna show you why Infusible ink is so cool. So what's awesome is it's in the fibers of the t-shirt, whereas iron-on sits on top of the material. This is actually infused in the t-shirt, which is why when you stretch it, it's just so cool. I love it. So that is how you use Infusible ink to make a t-shirt. Remember, I'm using Cricut's brand t-shirt. There are specific t-shirts that you have to use with Infusible ink. They have to be a high poly blend. It's just best to go with Cricut shirts because they've already been tested and you know that they'll work. So that is Infusible ink. That's all I have for today. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below and we'd love to help you out. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe for more Cricut videos. Thanks for watching.